Interviewing is a skill. How do you learn it when you have no experience in it, or you're coming off a bout of a long-term job? Maybe you've been doing your own thing for a while and now you need to get back in the game for an opportunity that you're stoked about, but you don't want to back up, How do we smash the interview out the park? How do we be the hands down better candidate across the board consistently? We have to get our authentic selves across. And that's why it's a combination of preparation, communication, and personality that is going to do that for us. I've used this to land 2 international jobs with Volvo Cars and Adidas, which were both highly competitive programs and companies themselves. So I got there without a passport, without connections, just going through the recruitment process that they had. I was also lucky enough to work in a HR business partner team where I was recruiting people into the company and having discussions with hiring managers within that process. I've also got experience in psychometric tools. So I've been validated. I've done trainings in those delightful personality assessments we all get at the start of an interview process. And I've been part of how those factor into the conversations when people are being hired into an organization. For me, it's really important that we always create systems for ourselves at the fundamental building blocks. We don't want to take methodology or processes and just apply them onto scenarios like they are a generic thing. This is not a generic process. Sure, organizations set out their process as being quite but you as the individual are then engaging with people in the organization who are looking for something. They're going to resonate with something. And we want to be the candidate that hands down is by far better than everybody else. That is especially important when you are going into an international role. Companies are looking to hire international talent that are A+. They need to be hands down better than any local talent in that space for them to relocate you, to bring you across, to make that initial investment and take on that risk. Well, you can use a whole bunch of these different kinds of methodology in the process of interviewing. And these might give you the feeling of security and safety in the interview process, that you have prepared enough, that you're ready for any question. And that is true. These methodologies have a time and a place. I fully advocate for familiarizing yourself with them and using them at the appropriate time. But to really smash the interview out the park, you have to know the role that you're applying for. You have to know the organization that you're going into, and you need to know the people that you're having conversations with. That's how we're going to understand where to put our effort into this process and answer the question, how do I become the hands down better candidate above and beyond everybody else? Is this a more technical role? Is this a role with people management responsibility? Is this a role where you'll be an indirect leader, but still required to have that leadership mindset? By understanding the unique words within a job description, we'll know how to proceed with our preparation. If it's a technical role, you might verse yourself with kind of methodology that organization uses in terms of their software development. And then for me, it is always essential that I get a base knowledge of the organization that I'm going into. I need to know their values. I need to know their purpose, their mission. What are they after? And from that, I can deduce what kind of candidate are they looking for to drive that mission forward. Now, everyone knows how to do a quick Google search, and that is perfect. But the real golden nuggets to advance and enhance everything that you can speak about within your interview, you're going to find within the annual report of a company. Now, not all companies have annual reports, but generally companies do a blog post, even if they're small, or some kind of share out on LinkedIn or wherever else on what their results were for the year, what were their achievements. And of course, we need to be able to communicate this stuff really, really well, to weave in all the things that we found, all the things that we've connected with into how we answer our questions. This is where those methodologies come in useful if you find the appropriate question to answer with a given structure. And I don't know about you, but I get nervous within interviews and feelings of anxiety on the day. Like I've always told the sports teams that I coach, nervous means that you care, which is always a really good thing, but we don't want to care too much. We don't want to give all of our power to the interviewer and to the people that we're engaging with. One little trick that I have used in the past to relieve my nerves and maybe some of the power imbalance within an interview is to wear an item of clothing that is ridiculous. So it might be that I'm doing a virtual interview and my pants are actually my pink flamingo pants, which which I adore, or my socks are the South African flag when I'm going in because that is my pride, Some of these small things can help us feel like real people. And that's what we really want to bring out within the conversation that we have with organizations, companies, the recruiters, you name it, which is where our personality comes in, and we want to let our personality shine, our true, authentic selves. But of course, we want that shine to be perfectly aligned with the values and the hopes and the dreams of the organization. We want to make sure that we are aligned with what the hiring manager has described as the position, the role. We want to make sure that we're aligned with the organization, its hopes, dreams, and ambitions. And of course, we want to make sure that we have the skill set and can communicate that with our spice of personality within the interview. If you are a global warming denialist, you do not want to go and work for a company whose primary goal is sustainability. So we want to ensure that our fundamental beliefs and convictions, the things we value, the things we're passionate about, we are able to voice and communicate within the interview and get across that our core beliefs, our core values are aligned with the company. And it could be as simple as the company is a high performance company. They produce, they hit their targets, they have a high energy when they work. And you are a person who is exactly like that. That could be what you appreciate from work. And so you want to get across that part of you and how aligned it is with the organization's way of working. But to really smash the interview out of the park, you don't want to use this communication, preparation, personality as standalones, Each one is important, but you just kind of use them. We want to put them together in a way where they compound. How do we do that? One example is, say you had a solid interview. You answered all the questions really well, you're feeling a connection building, but you're not yet sure that you've smashed the interview out the park. At the end of interviews, hopefully, if it is a good company, they will ask if you have any questions for them. We don't want to ask any technical, boring admin questions like, what's the salary? When does the start date? All of that stuff can be put in an email afterwards, sent as a follow-up. That is the place for that. The place for what are your questions is where you bring these three pieces together and show your passion for the company, your investment in your preparation, that you can communicate really well, you're a rock star, and your personality is spiced on top. How? Well, for me, I'm really passionate about diversity and inclusion within organizations. So in my preparation, I would look into the annual report and I would see that this organization says they rarely value women in leadership positions. In fact, they want an equal ratio of men and women going forward by this point in time. Amazing. But I see that the executive management team actually doesn't have that gender split. For me, that's concerning because the lived reality of the company is not their stated ambition. So I can get curious in that stage and ask a targeted question like, in my preparation for this interview, I was reading through your company's annual report, and I saw that you have this great goal of 50-50 in male-female in leadership positions. That's awesome. It signals to me that that's something that you value as a company. But I saw that the executive management team doesn't reflect that. What is the process and the policies and the things that your company is doing to ensure that the imbalance is rectified? What this question says is, I've prepared. I'm able to concisely ask my question and communicate what I'm after. I'm a critical thinker. I can engage with two seemingly unconnected pieces of information, connect them, and ask a question, hopefully in a non-confrontational way, but shows something that I rarely value, that I have conviction in. It aligns with the company's stated goal of what they want, their values and convictions, and it signals that I'm somebody who might drive that topic forward. And that's how we get constant improvement, learning and development, optimization, which companies all love because they are all about efficiency and blah, 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 blah. So, of course, I couldn't have asked that question without preparation. I couldn't have spoken it out loud without communication ability. And I needed a bit of courage in that space to also voice that. Those are all things, when put in combination, the kind of thing that makes you shine as a candidate. And this stuff is really hard to know if you haven't done a lot of interviewing before, or if you don't come from a place where you have parents or a network or connections who have gone through these processes, where you can learn as a byproduct of the people that you're spending time with. If you're new to this channel, I speak about design in a variety of contexts, and that involves breaking things down to the fundamental building blocks and then building the things up from there. Subscribe for more information that you don't get to read in boring blogs or other more corporate-esque videos. Join the next video where I will build upon this foundation on how we can tweak this perspective for an international career and for international interviews specifically. See you then.